transition consultant.
Great. So if you wouldn't mind signing in for us, we end up at the end of the year having to submit reports to the department, letting them know how many people we served and how effective the trainings were for you all. So please go ahead and sign in. I will put the actual link in the chat in just a second. Once Richard gets going, I've got the link in the notes of my slide. So just as we have in the past, just please be present. We understand if you can't have your camera on, that you're listening and participating as much as you can in the chat, and then assume positive intentions here to help you guys get ready for this testing season. And Richard's always great about giving us some updates. We have been doing Zoom for a number of years now, so I'm just going to slide that over. So your team supporting you, Rita, Pam, and Carrie have introduced themselves to you. These slides will also be available on a Padlet afterwards, so you can find information if needed. And then we have some new faces on our Southwest team this year. Barbie and Katie, I don't know if you want to say hello.
Sure. I'm getting to the point where I'm not sure if I'm new anymore or not. So I'm Barbie Gregory, and I have been the Southwest Tech Prep Regional Coordinator at Miami University since last October, so still new-ish.
Hi, everybody. I am Katie Bauer. I am actually new. I'm only in, I think, maybe 2 months at this point. Not new to Tech Prep, but new to this role. I am the Tech Prep Coordinator at the University of Cincinnati.
Right. And then I think I've seen Deb and Rosie as well. You guys want to say hi real quick?
I'll go ahead. I'm Rosie Matthews, and I am a tech prep coordinator at Clark State for the West region.
And I'm Deb Holdhouse, and I am the tech prep coordinator at Edison State in Piqua.
Thank you. You guys all have great pictures too. All right, so the purpose of our Power Hour is just to give you those just-in-time trainings or hot topics in career tech. We know this world is changing in Ohio, and we have lots of positive momentum right now. So there are always things that just pop up that we need to share with you. So we'll be doing that. We've got 4 meetings scheduled throughout the year. And then, of course, it's also a good time for you to build your professional learning network. And who on the call can you reach out to if you have a question or just want to pick someone's brain about something? So today's topic, without further ado, is our WebXam updates. And we have Richard Huggins from the Ohio State University College of Education and Human Ecology for the Center on Education and Training for Employment. And so I'm going to let Richard take it away. We'll be monitoring the chat, so if you have questions, please drop them in there, or you're welcome to use that raise your hand feature as well.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's wonderful to see everybody today. Thank you again to Melissa and to Pam and to everybody for the invite to come and speak to you all. Let me just get my screen shared here. So I am Richard Huggins, as they said, the WebXam service lead at CTE, which I'm amazed I never say it correctly, the Center on Education and Training for Employment at the, and I stress the, Ohio State University. I'm required to stress the, otherwise they come and find me. So I'm just going to go through some updates, but I will just tell you in advance, there's not any huge changes to WebXam this year. The last 2 years, we've made a lot of changes. So this year, it's kind of a, let's get things nailed down, get everything working okay, so we can continue to move forward. So no big changes in this slideshow or coming this year, I'm happy to say. Regardless of all that, I've still seen some familiar names in the chat. People I had talked to as recently as this morning with various tech support needs. So typically, if you email WebXam at support@webexam.org, one of the people you're most likely to talk to is me. And then if you call, you'll talk to any number of other folks who sort of can help answer your questions. And then you can email directly. I do ask if you have a support question to go through support@webexam.org. That way, if someone else is available, they can answer that question for you. So before we dive in too deeply into whatever changed, I do want to talk about the WebXam calendar this year. So fall pre-testing is open, and it will remain open until into the first week of October. We've already delivered around 40 to 45,000 pre-tests so far this year, so the system and the situation is well underway. And so we'll expect a lot more testing and pre-testing to come in September before field testing and post-testing open then on the 14th of October. And then field and post-testing will remain open until for field testing, and we'll talk more about field testing in a few moments, until the 18th of April next year. And then post-testing closes on, well, really at the end of May next year. You'll notice also, as usual, there's a winter pre-testing menu in January. So no great surprises there. I did want to mention as well the WebXam Users Workshop, which is on the 4th of 2024. And there is a bit of a change from previous years. That's been solely virtual for many years, but we're going to go back to a hybrid approach. So we've had a number of administrators request that go back to being in person as well. So this year there is both an in-person and a virtual option available for that users workshop. So maybe if you're here in Columbus, up here in Columbus for or over here in Columbus for Ohio ACTE, maybe you can extend that visit for a day and come and visit us at our offices for the users workshop. We'd love to have you. There is a registration, so you can sign up, but it's not required. You can show up on the day of, or the link will be available on our website on the day of the review or the day of the workshop as well. And then a key date here on this calendar is the last one on that list, which is 5/5/2025. Again, for field testing, which we'll talk about more in a minute here, that's the date when we will have all the field test scoring and sort of final versions of those tests ready to go. And that's when there is this new, what's called the field test retake window open for graduating students. So if you have a problem with if you have a student who needs to retake a WebXam field test for the purpose of graduation, or really also for CTAG purposes, you'll be able to give them sort of the final version of that test after the after the 5th of May in 2025. So just keep that date in mind, because again, if you have a student that is right on that sort of dividing line between graduating or maybe having to find another approach, that is an option that's available to retest. Just note for those field test retakes, the student has to have taken the field test in order to be eligible to retake it after the 5th of May. So just be aware they have to have taken that field test. I'm going to move on to the next slide before we talk about teacher test reviews a little bit here, just because I want to talk about field testing because it is really the most important thing we have to talk about right now. So the entire agriculture and environmental science career field is being field tested this year. I think that's some 48 courses. And I don't even know, I can't imagine how many districts have ag programs throughout the state. And so even if you're at a career center, even if you're at a college or university, if you know of districts or you have associate schools, maybe where you're doing some other programs with them, and they also have an ag program, please make sure they're aware that this field testing is something they have to worry about and come up with a plan for now. It is essential, literally, for students to take those field tests. So anything we can do to get that word out to those schools, and as you know, there are schools that the only career tech involvement they have is through ag and environmental science, and then maybe some students come to the career center for some IT or manufacturing programs or whatever. So make sure those districts are aware of field testing. I cannot stress how important that is, that these schools that we don't interact with very often are aware that field testing is taking place. And the key things to know, these tests are going to be a little bit longer. I think a lot of you from the career centers already know this, that the tests from the careers or in the field tests are a little bit longer. They're up to 100 items. So students, teachers need extra time to deliver them. These tests close a little bit earlier. They have to close on April 18th this year. And that's again so that we can have this window open for students to retake them if needed. So anything you can do to help make sure students are aware and our districts are aware that the pre-testing, just every little bit helps. I'll also just mention, just as an aside, there are 3 manufacturing courses that are also in field testing this year. That's brand new content for high schools. There's intro to semiconductors, vacuum systems, and an advanced manufacturing course. Those courses are all brand new, so I kind of think it's unlikely there's going to be too many programs taking those tests this year. But be aware of those as well if you are offering any of those brand new courses in manufacturing. But again, ag and environmental science, they have not gone through this field testing process since maybe 2015, 2016. Like it's been that long. So a lot of those schools that only have ag programs, this is the only time they will have ever had to deal with this. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit here now. Hopefully without spoiling too many of the exciting things I'm going to be talking about. But first, let me talk about teacher test reviews. So teacher test reviews are available every month at the SEAT offices. You'll see the dates listed there, but you can also go to review.webexam.org to see those dates and to sign up. The first one is on October 16th, and it's starting to fill up. Then we have one that we're doing on Veterans Day. We found last year that Veterans Day one was the most popular teacher test review that we offered. So we've decided to sort of continue sort of doing one on that day. And then you'll see there's also ones going through into, I think there's actually one in March as well that's hidden on this screen, but you'll find that on the, just having a fun time scrolling with my mouse. You'll find that there's also, all those dates are listed on the teacher test review site at review.webexam.org. And if you're at a large district or a university or career center and you want to offer a teacher test review at your location, you can do so. There are several in the southwest and western parts of the state coming up. But if you have, I think we require about 30 teachers or so at a minimum to sort of be able to do this, but we can come to your school and deliver the pretest perhaps as part of a PD day or something like that. And then you can also, you can work with the other schools in your area if you were trying to get to 30 teachers and sort of work with other schools, associate schools, things like that to sort of get some additional teachers if you need to. So just be aware that those teacher test reviews are out there. These ones offered a seat or sort of, you just sign up whenever you're available. The cost has changed slightly this year for these ones that are hosted at seat. They used to be $50, they're now $60. So just be aware of that's a small price increase. Yeah, just costs go up, right? I think we all know how things are going in that regard. So some changes to WebXam. We do encourage you to take a look at the current testing policy on the ODE website. The Career Technical Education Assessment System page is the place where you can see the testing policies, including all of the retake opportunities. So I'm just going to run through this real quickly. So as has always been the case, students can take an assessment in the year that they're completing that course, and then in any subsequent year. They can also retake those tests in the same year after 30 days for remediation. Exception to those are field tests, which are not available for retake after 30 days, but there is that separate field test retake policy that we talked about that starts after form finalization. Yeah, and Pam mentioned that there is a teacher test review coming up on, is that October 10th, Pam, at Miami CTC, Miami Valley CTC?
That's correct. We'll be the West Region. I'll be hosting that this year.
Oh, that is great. So there's an opportunity right there. If you just have a few teachers who need to review some tests, your teachers should be aware that they can only retake a test once per that test's life cycle, which is basically from when the field test is launched until the new field test is launched. So this year, if you have any ag teachers, they can now take those teacher test reviews again, but they won't be able to again until the ag tests are rewritten. So as I was talking about, excuse me, there is that field test retake policy, and again, there's no 30-day requirement there. We don't want to make you have to field test students earlier than they already have to. So you can test your students up until 4/18, and then they can retake the test again anytime after the 5th of May. And then the other change to WebExam is that we're now offering inline content translations. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes with some screenshots. So that's really just an opportunity for us to help students who are learning the English language. field testing. I'll never miss an opportunity to mention field testing again. So just ag and environmental science, pre-testing this year, anything you can do to help get the word out about that is helpful. Okay. I'm going to pause for a second here and take a breath, see if there's any other questions coming up. Not yet. So I do want to talk about baking and pastry arts and education principles. Again, I just want to make sure I remind people about this every year. Those two subject codes have some additional requirements beyond the WebXam assessments. So for baking and pastry arts, there is a performance assessment where students are making an eclair, I believe, and a nice cream-filled donut, very tasty. The students have to complete that baking and pastry arts performance assessment, and they must be observed by 2 assessors at least, one of which can be the teacher of record for that course. So if you're at a career center or school that offers that subject code as part of a hospitality or baking program, just be aware you might have to bring an assessor in 1 or 2 or 3 days a year, depending on the number of students that you have, to observe students going through this process, and then you do a little checklist based on which parts they complete successfully, and then you have to transfer that checklist into WebXam. The other similar situation, and that's been going on for a bit longer, is education portfolio, the education principles portfolio. That portfolio that students create as part of the education principles course needs to be rated by at least 2 assessors, neither of which can be the student of record or the teacher of record. And the reason I say at least 2 assessors is that if those 2 assessors come back with their ratings and they differ substantially, then a 3rd assessor is required to sort of make sure we're honing in on what is the most appropriate scoring available. So be advised about that slight difference, 2 or 3 assessors, and that in the baking case, that can be the teacher of record, can be an assessor, but for education principles, the teacher of record cannot be an assessor. So other than that, they operate fairly similarly. They both end up being 40% of the subject code's scoring that you'll report into WebXam or report into EMIS from WebXam. And in all cases, that needs to be done by the end of May next year. So hopefully by now for baking pastry arts, that's not too much of a surprise. And then if you are offering new programs in either of those areas, be aware of this requirement. And there is much more information on the ODEW website and on WebXam's website about what these assessments, performance assessments, and portfolios look like. All right, let's talk about inline translations. So for the first year ever, WebXam was pleased to offer inline translations of our assessments. Now, for this year, those inline translations are only available in Spanish, but we'll be adding additional languages based on need and availability over the coming years. We welcome any feedback in this process. One of the things we're really trying to focus on with these translations is to make sure they're what we call context aware, which is to say that if we're translating a question for a business test, we know that that's a business related question and are translating it correctly. And the way we're doing that is by when we ask for a translation from our provider, we're including the sort of competency and outcome and strand and standard body name, all that kind of stuff is included to help the machine translation translate the words correctly. So margin gets translated correctly in a business course, as opposed to how it might get translated in a construction course or something like that, or a media arts course, something like that. So hopefully that means that the translations are as accurate as they can possibly be. And let me show you what that ends up looking like. So for every student, regardless of if they have an accommodation or not, when they click on that gear icon at the top right of the assessment, one of the options they'll have is to show the Spanish version of the test or to just show English only. And so let me show you if you choose Spanish, the student will see something like this. They'll see both the English version of the test and the Spanish version together. And the reason we're doing that is, particularly this year, since it's our first year offering new translations, we want to make sure that students have, if the translation isn't correct, the English version is there for them. Also, because the illustrations, the text inside of an illustration is not translated. So we want to make sure that the English version is here in case they're trying to match words between an illustration and an answer. And again, finally, it's just so that they have both of those options available. The text-to-speech will, particularly in the case of Google Chrome, will read the Spanish text correctly. It will read the translated text as Spanish text. If your students are using Firefox or are somehow using really old versions of browsers, sometimes the text-to-speech will, instead of reading the Spanish version, will try to do it phonetically, and it doesn't turn out nearly as well. But for recent versions of Google Chrome, it will read Spanish as Spanish. And students can turn those translations off at any time. So they'll go back to that gear icon and they'll choose English only, and it will remove the translations from the page. There will be sort of occasional questions that don't have a translation. There is one on this demo test that asks about English grammar. Doesn't make any sense in Spanish, so there's no Spanish version of that question available. I don't think there's any others currently, but if somehow we're ever offering an English test, that might not be available in Spanish. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I think that's unlikely. But on the demo test, there is one question that's about like grammar. So just be aware, there may be a question or two that don't have translations available. So as I mentioned earlier, text within images is not translated. We're just going through a process of trying to minimize the amount of text in images for precisely this reason. Text-to-speech will read the translated text on Google Chrome. And then one other thing to note here, so once a student has enabled translations, they'll continue to be provided until the test session ends or the student turns that option off. So they won't have to keep turning it back on as they switch from question to question to question. And then the translations are available to all students, no accommodation required. And there is in our documentation a note about this new feature. so that you can sort of review slides very similar to these from other presentations that we've done. So I really hope that this is helpful for your students, to sort of, at least the ones that are coming in speaking Spanish, that this will help them be able to sort of get through the web exam assessments without having to use a foreign language dictionary. And we certainly hope to be adding more languages going forward, based again on need and availability with our translation provider. So again, I really hope you find it useful. We've already seen it being used by maybe as many as 50 students so far. So, and we certainly hope that that continues. Is that right? Okay. Well, let me talk then. Change courses a little bit. Again, if you have any questions about that, feel free to put them in the chat. But I do want to talk a little bit about what item writing is going on this year. So last year was a lot of item writing in ag and environmental sciences. This year, we're rewriting every test in information technology as well as in arts and communication. So this is all of the N0 to N4 pathways, and then the B0 and B1 pathways as well. If I got that right from memory, that's pretty surprising. But so IT and arts communication. So if you have those programs in your schools, we'll be field testing those next year. But we'd love to have your teachers involved in helping write these assessments. Item writing starts in September for IT, I think in late September. So your instructors can email us at CETE-recruiting at osu.edu. There might be a slide about that later on. But if you have instructors who won't be able to participate in item writing, but they still want to sort of help, set the direction for how these assessments should look, there is a survey available that's called the Blueprint Survey. And so your instructors can email our director, Dr. Bridget McHugh, mchugh.159@osu.edu, to request access to take that survey. Or if any of you have content expertise in those areas, you can also participate in that process. And what you end up doing is going through sort of course by course that you're interested in and saying, here's where I think the focus of the assessment should be. It should be on these outcomes. And it's just a way to make sure that we get really honed in on assessing the content that's most important for the students, for the students. And just a little bit about designing as blueprints. And again, a blueprint tells us how many items are writing to each outcome. And we're basing that on how important that content is for demonstrating technical skill attainment. Its importance and easiness based on other ratings helps us understand how the blueprint should be designed. As I said, IT and arts. We've been working with ODEW on sort of helping them, and well, not really helping them, but sort of getting set up for this year to write these assessments. There are a lot of new courses in IT and arts and communications. As you might imagine, those fields are constantly changing. I do know there's going to be like an AI course in IT that I'm sure will be a big hit with your students. So we hope that your programs will start to use those next year, and then we'll be taking the field tests, and it will be extremely useful. And again, if you want to sort of take that blueprint survey or make it available to your teachers, have them email mchugh.159@osu.edu. Or I guess you could scan these QR codes. I wasn't aware that those were there, but this slideshow is available either through WebXam, or I know that it's also available. I think, Pam, did you say you were going to post them?
Yes, it'll be
Yeah,
your PowerPoint will be available following your presentation today.
yeah. So those QR codes will be available to you after the presentation, either for your own needs or to distribute to your teachers. So real quickly about the item writing schedule and the way things work. In fall, we'll sort of open the, as now I guess we're considering it fall since football's starting. Blueprint surveys open, recruiting for workshops, and even the item writing workshops are starting. In winter, we'll be writing new assessments all winter long. In the spring, we'll continue be writing assessments all spring long. I think there's some 59 assessments that we're writing this year. We'll be doing what are called Plan B workshops, which are for courses in ag that didn't have enough students for us to have good data. And so we'll bring some teachers in to help us make sure that the finalized tests look like they need to. And then in summer, there's an additional option to participate in this process called validation and standard setting. And that's when we figure out what the cut scores / benchmark / performance assessments are going to look like for the finalized assessments for IT and arts and communications. So with that, I will open the floor to any questions or comments or concerns, fears and doubts. I'll just add while you're formulating your questions. We as me in this case, I could not be more excited to see how the translation process goes. I have been trying to get that done for a number of years now, and so I'm really hopeful be useful for your students and useful for your teachers. So please, if there's feedback you're getting from the students or from your intervention specialists, that we are we welcome that feedback and we're excited to share it. And I see, yeah, Diamond, I'm sure Diamond has been using them. So that's great to hear. Wonderful. I'm glad it worked.
Richard, I think your presentation was very succinct. It doesn't sound like we have any questions from anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, not a lot changed this year. Like last year when we had that big program update, there were there were some concerns along the way. Um, this year a little less stressful. So yeah, I think this is what we've been seeing, that people are excited, and you know, as we've said, there's been 45,000 pre-tests already, so people are already getting going.
There is a comment too from Great Oaks. They said Diamond used the translation and it worked great.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah, good
Yeah.
feedback.
Yeah, and yeah, we welcome both positive feedback like that, and and we also welcome any other feedback you might have.
Well, Richard, I know that you can't always entertain every idea on improving the system, but I can tell you that you and your team have always listened and have taken that information back that you get from the field. And I know that you've worked on several upgrades to the system based on that feedback. So one, I thank you and your team for that. And two, I thank you for always being available to us to have, an opportunity just for, like 30 minutes to share the updates annually with our CTE instructors and administrators. So I just want to say thank you for all of that. If we're not seeing any more questions or hearing any of those questions, I'm going to turn it back over to Melissa, who has a couple updates from our SST regions as well as our tech prep regions. So thank you, Richard, as always. We certainly appreciate your participation in our events.
Well, again, thank you very much for inviting us every year. We enjoy taking part in this session.
Thank you.
Yes, Richard, thank you so much. All right. So Carrie is going to go ahead and share her SST 10 updates.
All right, good afternoon. And they're very similar to Melissa's. So, Melissa. So we've got meetings on here, as you can see. The s'more is from Melissa, as well as the Career Tech Power Hour. And then SST 10 also does a leadership network. We talk about special education and other factors that are impacting our students in all areas of education. There's your link, you can register. They're from 12 to 1:30 once a month. And then we have a legal one focusing on special education in the fall that'll be in person. So that's the latest from Region 10.
All right, thanks, Carrie. So in Region 13, same statewide CTE and special ed leaders network meetings. The s'mores there, and you can register there. The registration goes to State Support Team 3 because they set up the Zoom links for that statewide meeting. So feel free to register. The more, the merrier. The Career Tech Power Hour you're already involved with. If you would like to just receive a calendar invite for our next one, you're welcome to just put a thumbs up in the chat or something. I know sometimes it's a pain to register for everything. But if you have already, great. If you just want a calendar invite, we'll try and accommodate what you like. Let's see, we started last week with our techniques that transform effective strategies for inclusive teaching, where we're looking at the Ohio Employment First, What Works for Work strategies to help students in classrooms and learning in general. It was a great first day. Would love to have more teachers attend, and really would love to have some career tech teachers attend because these strategies would be great for them. Our next session is next week, and it's via Zoom after school. So if you have anybody that you think might benefit from that, shoot me an email and I'll send you the information. It's not too late to sign up. And then also doing 2 UDL sessions. One is in person, one's virtual. Same content, just whichever one works best for you. The UDL guidelines were updated this summer to version 3. And so we'll go over those and do some examples of how you might be able to use UDL with your students or your teachers. And then we're also doing implementing K-12 career advising session. So my colleague Megan Horsmeyer and I are working through how to look at all your data and your research on what your students are interested in, how to expose them to careers. And then as they go through your system, how to build in some of those things that we know that are best for students with work-based learning, pre-apprenticeships, making sure they're set up for their future career. And then I also put a link to our PD calendar there because we have lots of stuff there for special ed. They're also doing some things this year with adolescent literacy, math, and data, looking at data and working on Looker Studios. So, and as always, the SST PD is free. All right, Rita.
Hey, well, first of all, let me tag a little bit on what Melissa said about the next Power Hour. It's November 19th, and it's going to be in college credit opportunities that's in career tech education. So if you have teachers or you know of anybody that's interested in learning more about different opportunities like the bilateral agreements, the CTAG opportunities, some of the things that we're working on at Cincinnati State. So Gretchen and I will be presenting on some of the different pathways and innovative things that we've been working on with some of our career tech centers here in the Southwest region. So like Melissa said, you have a separate registration. It's November 19th. So it's an hour, 3 to 4, same time. So hopefully you guys will join us. And then we have the following ones set up, all 4, and topics to be determined. So if you have a hot topic that you want to send our way, please let us know. We didn't want to fill in those topics until we heard from our partners and heard from everybody to see, what's up and coming. Is there anything changing? Is there anything hot on the press that we need to be making everybody aware of? So my Tech Prep Southwest region, one of the things that is fastly approaching, September 27th, Miami University is in collaboration with the Department of Education and Workforce, and it's with our Southwest Tech Prep. Barbie is on this, but she's kind of overseeing some of this, but it's engineering teachers, and it's a teacher opportunity to learn more about what's coming down in the engineering from the High Department of Education and Workforce, and then also hear about some of the programs that are going on at Miami, get some in-person workshops. So it's at Miami University Middletown campus. There is a registration link. And if you have any questions, please email me or email Barbie Gregory. Barbie, say hi real quick.
Hi, we also have a guest speaker that day from Intel. So yes, registration link. We still have open spots until about the 20th. I think we're going to cut off registration. So it's still open.
Like I said, if you want to hear firsthand what's going on from the High Department of Education, Josh Miller will be there and doing the presentation. So, and I'll turn it over to, I think, the West region, Pam.
Thanks, Rita. As I put in the chat earlier when Richard was talking, the West region will be sponsoring the WebXam teacher review session on October 10th. That session is free to all of our career technical education instructors. That opportunity will allow you to take as many tests as you possibly can in a given pathway. Of course, we recommend that you take the assessments that are directly related to the courses that you're instructing, but it will also allow you to take additional WebXam assessments for other courses in that pathway. As Richard mentioned, you can only take those assessments once in a life cycle, which is generally about 5 years. But I put the registration link in the chat as well as you can find it here, if I haven't already emailed it out to you all. Can you move the slide forward for me? Thank you. And an additional WebXam opportunity that the West region will be sponsoring. It is called Mastering WebXam Data for Enhanced CTE Instruction. So it's going to give at that particular event, we're going to dive deep into the tools that WebXam provides for all of you, such as the blueprints, additional tools that again, are available to you through WebXam. We're going to take a deep dive in analyzing the student performance data that you have. So how do you access your students' performance if you don't already know how to do that? And look at ways to identify areas for instructional enhancement. So I will also put that link in the chat as well. And then
Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, Pam.
Oh, Melissa, you were gonna, you wanted me to put the PD link in the chat, but
never mind. We got it.
okay, perfect.
Did you have
Okay,
more?
good.
I didn't know.
teamwork makes the dream work, right?
So, Carrie's gonna drop the chat or the link to the survey in here again. We use that information to tell the department, what the feedback was, how many people attended, if you felt like this was helpful or not. I believe this one will work. Cross my fingers. We'll get that going. And then I just want to give you to this link to the Padlet. We're going to put everything in the Padlet again, like we did last year. And that will, so the recording will go there, and then Richard's slide deck will go there too. And I'll have those, I'll put the slide deck in as soon as we're finished. And then as soon as the recording is done, I'll put that in as well. It's the same Padlet we used last year. So if you need anything from last year, it's here. And then we'll just keep moving forward with things from this year. And with that, I think we're finished. Look at us. 5 minutes, 7 minutes early. That's awesome. We usually go over a little bit. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. If you have any general questions, we're happy to stay on. I'll turn off the recording, and feel free to turn your camera on or mic on and just ask a couple questions. We can help you.
And we're always interested if there's topics that you would like for us to